This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining us today is Professor Richard Conroy, the chairman of Conroy Gold, following news this morning of a new gold discovery within the Longford Down area where visible gold was observed at two locations within the new discovery area. So, Richard, first of all, give me your thoughts on this. Visible gold, huge assay results announced there. How are you feeling?
Feeling very, very pleased, obviously, but still trying to take it on board, because it's not only a new gold discovery, but as you say, we've got these grades that in all the 20 years we've been exploring in the area, finding various targets, and some of them quite large targets, and already with a deposit and so on. But these figures are very high. Indeed, when we saw the first one, 12 grams a ton, we were very pleased indeed. But when it went on to see further ones of over 30, over 40, over 70, and finally over 120, these are extremely high levels indeed. And of course, they transform the entire project. We now know not only are there a large series of gold targets over the 500 square miles of the project area, but that you've got some exceptionally high grades as well. And this has all sorts of implications for developing mines, for the profitability of the mines. It's absolutely transformational. And I can tell you, we check those figures and check them and recheck them over and over again. I don't think I've ever seen a figure before. In the many years I've been in mining of 120 grams a ton in a sample. It's exceptionally high. But the others are also very, very high. So we're still taking it on board, I must say. They're really, really magnificent figures and transform the whole situation. But as well as that, interesting enough, they confirm the Clay Lake Nugget in that there were two things that started us in our exploration in the area. One was the fact that gold had been found back channel samples down in an old antimony plant in Clontimbrett. And of course, we've shown that it's not only gold at Clontimbrett, but that you have a 40-mile gold trend with many shows of gold and targets and so on along it, 40 miles or 65 kilometers, perhaps it's called these days. But this gold, the gold that we've been seeing up until now, has always been gold dissolved in the rock. I say seeing it, but in actual fact, you couldn't see it. You had to analyze the rock to get the gold grades from it and know that there was gold there. This gold now is visible, and that is the situation with the famous Clay Lake Nugget, which was the other reason for our going ahead with our exploration way back. Was that Clay Lake Nugget, very, very nice nugget indeed. It's now in the Ulster Museum, but it was evident that the nugget came from somewhere close by. It was still angular and rough, whereas if a nugget came from many, many miles away or something like that, would tend to be rounded as it moved along over the years. This was jagged, and also the gold is quite visible in it. Whereas all the discoveries we've been making over the last number of years have, as I say, been of gold dissolved in the rock, so you don't actually see it until you analyze for it. But now we're actually seeing rock with gold visible. And as I say, they're very, very high levels indeed. So it suggests something that we've always wondered about. Did the Clay Lake Gold Nugget indicate that there was, as it were, a different type or source of gold in addition to what we were already seeing at Clontimbrett and elsewhere? And this would seem to confirm that. We're now looking at something very similar to Clay Lake Nugget, visible gold, gold in quartz. So it's very interesting from a geological point of view, but of course it's even more interesting from its implications for the value of the area and the value of the gold concerned. And so with those sort of figures, of course, that transforms your financials if you're beginning to look at mining potential. So we're really still trying to take it on board. We would have been delighted with 12 grams a ton and thought that's excellent. We're looking at over 120 grams a ton. That's equivalent to 4 ounces a ton. And when you consider that people mine down to about 0.5 of a gram a ton, to be looking at some results that are over 120 gram a ton, it really is absolutely tremendous, and we're still really taking it on board.
Okay. Well, you mentioned a few times there that it's potentially a transformational event for gold exploration in the area. You mentioned that in the RNS as well. The grades we're talking about here are very, very significant. I mean, they can also be a little bit, I think, confusing because they can be that nuggety effect, and of course you can cherry pick, the best grades to put out in the RNS. But I think the fact that you've got visible gold in the core is significant. That's rare to find that, isn't it?
It's rare to find that, and there's no question whatsoever of nugget effect. We obviously thought about that, but these are from 5 different samples.
Okay.
They've been checked and rechecked, and they're visible there, so it's not a nugget effect. And done it in one of the leading international laboratories, and they checked and rechecked over and over again. And to be quite honest, my own first reaction was, so have you got the decimal point wrong? I think caused a certain amount of offense, but from my point of view, I just couldn't believe it. But no, they're there, they're rechecked, they're not nugget effects, they're real. And it's a huge move forwards, which has all sorts of implications technically, financially, geologically, you name it. But they're all very positive. It's absolutely fantastic.
No, that's very good. We've spoken a number of times here about the sheer scale of this district scale gold deposit that you talk about. But I recall last time we spoke, I kind of mentioned maybe it could be a little bit tricky to focus somewhere specifically to get mining. And you talked about going at it in a measured manner, and the objective is to bring in one or more gold mines. So is this the sort of find that could really focus the attention going forward and potentially be one of those mine sites?
Oh, yes, very, very much so. But it also implies that elsewhere there may be these very high gold grades as well. And remember, all our work so far has been to, in mining terms, a very shallow level of down to 200 or 300 meters sort of thing. We don't know what there may be further on down, or what grades there may be further on down. Seen that out in Australia with the Fosterville, where you had a very good mine working with relatively low grades close to surface, and that went on for some years. And then someone stuck a couple of holes down a bit deeper and realized that it had a virtual bonanza underneath. But we don't even need that. We have so much already, which is coming up quite close to surface, and now at these fantastic grades. That's really something where changes everything. And there were already things were very, very good already, as you rightly say. We have an entire gold district with a whole series of targets, very nice targets with the sort of volumes of gold that we were getting. But now we've got these in addition, got these enormously high grades. And also it would seem to be there, as it were, 2 forms of geology, or 2 forms of presence of the gold, the form in which it's dissolved into the rock, and you have to test it in the laboratory to get the amounts and grades and so on. And now we're seeing it also visibly and with very, very high grades, indeed, as one saw in the Clay Lake Gold Nugget, which was one of the reasons for our starting the exploration in the first place. So it's something really. Over the last 24 hours, we've been trying to take this on board and its implications, which are enormous. But it also justifies the policy which we followed, as you know, we went and did everything ourselves, and we're still the operators, by the way. We're still out there in the field doing the work, but now with the association of our joint venture partners. But as you know, we continued ourselves over a period of 20 years, and we didn't go out looking for joint venture partners. We had visits by various companies, including some of the largest gold companies in the world. And obviously, we're open to discussions, but we weren't actively pursuing it because we felt that with our track record and experience, we should bring the projects to the sort of advanced level, which we did ourselves, and it wasn't easy over the years, raising money, doing it, and so on, before bringing in a joint venture partner. But I think our decision to do so at the stage at which we did it means that we're able to do the sort of work which has resulted in this transformational discovery, because we now have, of course, the sort of funds available in the joint venture, which we couldn't possibly be raising ourselves, the many, many millions which our joint venture partners is putting into this. And yet at the same time, we're holding on to a large percentage of it ourselves, 40%, which is very good for a junior explorer, I can tell you, to be able to hold on to that sort of percentage. So it's working out extremely well. It's working out very well also for our joint venture partner. The imagination and the vision and the willingness to do a very good deal with us is an extremely good deal from our point of view. It's turning out to be a very good deal from their point of view as well. So we're all happy.
Indeed. Well, you've said a few times there that you are sort of still taking it in a little bit, but you mentioned there about the joint venture and that they have the finance to investigate the entire gold district and discover more targets and more deposits, which is evident from today's news. I mean, is it too early now to be talking about what happens now with this target if you're still sort of processing it? Do you have any ideas of what might come next?
Well, we're following it up, and this is literally on the surface. So put your hand on the rocks and see the gold in it. You can take samples and analyze them as we've done, and so on. So you are literally at the surface. And what the geologists will be doing now, and the explorationists, is I'm sure that they'll be drilling or at least excavating some trenches to get down just a little bit deeper. And to be able to look at things at over a fairly wide meterage and so on like that, and get the actual trend of the rocks, the trend of the gold. And when they feel they have a handle on that, I'm sure they'll be putting down drill holes and following the process up in that manner. But it's very exciting. And it also, of course, has implications right across the entire district now that we know that such high values exist, and in the type of rock formation, geological formation in which this discovery has been made. So it's all around. It's fascinating for our geologists. Congratulations to them. They've done a great job. And we've got a team now, both of our own guys and the guys from our joint venture partner, working away together. They've done a great job, and we'll give them the backing at joint venture management level. So it's really a great step forward for us, enormous step forward, in fact.
Yes, it certainly sounds like it. So, of course, further exploration will be done, but we're potentially looking here at one of those mine sites that could go into production. Just thinking on the trend, Richard, is it possible then that you would actually find the heart of the trend, so to speak, where there's a lot of concentrate? Would that be the case in this sort of geology? And you may have stumbled across that in this area?
Yeah, I think it's much more than just a heart in it. It's a trend which has gold in it for at intervals for many miles, and that gold is the form contained in the dissolved form, but it now shows, as was suggested by the Clay Lake Nugget, but it's now confirmed by this discovery, that there's also visible gold there, and very obviously gold at potentially extreme, well, not potentially, it's reality, at very high grades indeed. And the combination of large volume and the possibility and the reality of high grades has, of course, enormous implications for mine development, profitable mine development, and why one is able to suggest we may even in time reach and certainly aspire to tier 1 production, which is pretty high level.
It is a pretty high bar. Yeah, you might have to be aware of people heading down to the area with metal detectors and trying to find some of this gold at surface level. But
the metal detector, they did discover the Clay Lake Nugget, so we say thank you very much.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much, Professor Richard Conroy there, the chairman of Conroy Gold, for your time today.
Good to talk with you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stopboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.